Tennessee will hold two statewide pageants this year, one in Jackson and one in Knoxville. The pageant has taken place in Jackson for more than 60 years, but new leadership says only the winning contestant from Knoxville will go to Miss America. 10 News reporter Stephanie Haynes explains.
For more than 60 years, Jackson has been the home of Miss Tennessee.
It is a big, huge deal each year in Jackson.
But now, new leadership plans to host the pageant in Knoxville on June 26th through the 29th.
I am an East Tennessee native, and so really bringing the glitz and the glamour of Miss Tennessee back to my backyard, it was really exciting.
But pageant leaders in Jackson are still hosting their own Miss Tennessee. The winner just won't go to Miss America. Hearst believes this all stems from controversy over Miss America leadership. The Associated Press reports Tennessee is one of 4 states suing the organization after its pageant license was terminated. The lawsuit also asks the judge to restore traditional pageant staples like the swimsuit competition, which chairwoman Gretchen Carlson got rid of last year. Now, Tennessee has a new board called Miss Tennessee Scholarship Competition. In a statement, Foundation Chair and former state representative Eddie Smith wrote in part, quote, "Miss Tennessee does not belong to a city, it belongs to a state." Smith said they plan to rotate cities in which the competition is held, so Knoxville is not the only destination.
They've got some really good ideas and really great things in the work, and I can't wait to see what's going to come out of it.
There are many strong opinions about the move, and in the end, there may be 2 Miss Tennessees.
Do they want to compete so they can have a ticket to go to Miss America? Or do they want to compete to have the chance to travel around the state and make a difference in children's lives every day of the year for the next year?
Stephanie Haynes reporting there. We expect to learn more details about where the Knoxville competition will take place on Friday.
Well, the city of Oak Ridge is celebrating